After the opera was over, the Count and Maximilian separated and went home. The Count still appeared to be calm and smiling. However, only someone who did not know him at all would have been deceived by the tone in which he said to Ollie,
"Ollie, bring me my ivory-handled pistols." "Who are you, madam?"
"Don't kill my son, Edmund."
"What name was that you just pronounced, Madame de Morcerf?"
"Yours, your real name, which I alone remember. Edmund, this isn't Madame de Morcerf who has come to you, it's Mercedes."
"Mercedes is dead, madam, and I no longer know anyone by that name."
"Mercedes is still alive, and she was the only one who recognized you when she saw you. Since then, she's been watching you and dreading you, and she had no need to seek to discover the hand that struck down Monsieur de Morcerf."
"You mean Fernand, don't you, madam? Since we're reminding each other of our names, let's remember all of them."
He pronounced the name Fernand with such hatred that Mercedes felt a shudder of fear run through her body.
"I can see I wasn't mistaken, that I was right to say you. Spare my son's life."
"Who told you I had anything against your son, madam?"
"No one told me, but a mother is gifted with second sight. I guessed everything. I followed him to the opera tonight and hid myself in another box, from which I saw what happened."
"In that case, madam, you saw that Fernand's son insulted me publicly."
"My son attributes his father's misfortune to you."
"What has happened to his father is not a misfortune. It's a punishment. I haven't struck him down. Providence has punished him."
"But why do you substitute yourself for Providence? What do you care about Yanina? What harm did Fernand Mondego do to you when he betrayed Ali Pasha?"
"You're right, madam. That's no concern of mine. I haven't sworn vengeance against either the French officer or the Count of Morcerf, but against Fernand, the fisherman, husband of Mercedes."
"But I'm the one who's guilty, Edmund, and if you want to take revenge on someone, you ought to take it on me for not having the strength to withstand your absence and my own loneliness."
"But why was I absent?"
"Because you were arrested, because you were a prisoner."
"And why was I arrested? Why was I a prisoner?"
"I don't know."
"No, you don't know, madam. At least I hope you don't. Well then, I'll tell you. I was arrested and put into prison because on the day before I was to marry you, a man named Danglars wrote this letter, which Fernand himself made."
Monte Cristo went over to a desk and unlocked a drawer from which he took a piece of yellowed paper. It was the letter from Danglars to the public prosecutor, which Monte Cristo, disguised as a representative from the firm Thompson and French, had taken from the records concerning the case of Edmond Dantes the day he paid 200,000 francs to Monsieur de Beauville. Mercedes took the letter and read it in terror.
"Oh my God! And this letter!"
"I bought it for 200,000 francs, madam, but I consider that cheap because it now enables me to justify myself in your eyes."
"And what was the result of this letter?"
"You already know the result, madam. It led to my imprisonment, but what you don't know is how long my imprisonment lasted. You don't know that for 14 years I was only a quarter of a league away from you, in a cell in the Chateau d'If. You don't know that every day of those 14 years I renewed the vow of vengeance I made on the first day, yet I didn't know that you had married Fernand, my denouncer, that my father was dead, and that he died of hunger."
"Good God! Forgive me, Edmund. Forgive for the sake of Mercedes, who still loves you."
"You're asking me not to crush that cursed breed. You're asking me to disobey God, who brought me back from the living dead in order to punish them. Impossible, madam, impossible."
"I call you Edmund. Why don't you call me Mercedes?"
"Mercedes. Yes, you're right. It's a name that's still sweet to say, and it's been a long time since it came so clearly from my lips. Oh, Mercedes, I've spoken your name with sighs of melancholy, with shrieks of pain, with groans of despair. I spoke it crouching in the straw on the floor of my dungeon. Mercedes, I suffered for 14 years. I wept and cursed for 14 years, and now I tell you, Mercedes, that I must have vengeance."
"Take your vengeance, Edmund, but take it on those who are guilty. Take it on Fernand. Take it on me, but don't take revenge on my son." "Edmund, ever since I met you, I've worshipped your name and respected your memory. Edmund, my friend, don't force me to darken that pure and noble image constantly reflected in my heart. Oh, Edmund, if only you knew how often I've prayed for you, while I still hoped you were alive, and after I believed you to be dead. What else could I do for you except to weep and pray? Believe me, Edmund, guilty as I am, I've suffered too.
Have you felt your father dying while you were absent? Have you seen the woman you loved give her hand to your rival while you were groaning in the depths of a dungeon?
No, but I've seen the man I loved ready to become the murderer of my son.
She spoke these words with such passionate grief, with such infinite despair, that a sob burst from the Count's throat. The lion had been tamed. The avenger had been vanquished.
You've come to ask me for your son's life. Very well, then. He will live.
Oh! Thank you, Edmund, thank you. You're still the man I've always dreamed of, the man I've always loved.
You won't have long to love him. The dead man is about to go back into his grave. The phantom is about to disappear into the night.
What do you mean?
I mean that since you order it, Mercedes, I must die.
Die? Who spoke of dying?
You can't believe that, after being publicly insulted by a young man who would boast of my pardon as he would of a victory, I could still go on living. What I've loved most after you, Mercedes, is myself. That is, my dignity and that strength which made me superior to other men. That strength was in my life. You've broken it without a word, so I must die. The duel will still take place, but instead of your son's blood, it will be my own that pours out onto the ground.
Oh! Edmund! The fact that you're still alive and that I've seen you again proves there's a God above us. I trust him from the bottom of my heart, awaiting his help. I count on your word. You've told me my son will live. He will live, won't he?
Yes, he'll live.
Edmund, you've just done something noble and sublime. You've taken pity on a poor woman who came to you with every reason to believe her hopes would be disappointed. Alas, I've grown old more from grief than from age, and I can't even remind my Edmund of the Mercedes he used to look at for so many hours. Oh, believe me when I tell you I've suffered too. It's terrible to watch one's life go without a single joy, without a single hope. Let me tell you again, Edmund, it's noble and sublime to forgive as you've just done.
You say that without knowing the greatness of the sacrifice I'm making for you, Mercedes. Suppose the Supreme Maker, after creating a third of the world, had stopped there to spare the tears of an angel who would have otherwise wept over our crimes one day. Suppose that, after having prepared everything and sown the seeds of life, just as he was about to mire his work, God had extinguished the sun and plunged the world into eternal night. If you imagine all this, you still won't have any idea of what I'm losing by losing my life at this time.
Mercedes looked at the Count with an expression that showed all her astonishment, admiration, and gratitude.
Edmund, I have only one more thing to say to you. My beauty has faded, but you'll see that, while Mercedes no longer resembles herself outwardly, she still has the same heart. And now, goodbye, Edmund. I now have nothing more to ask of heaven. I have seen you again as noble and great-hearted as ever. Goodbye, and thank you, Edmund.
The Count did not answer. Mercedes had already gone before he came out of the deep and painful reverie into which his lost vengeance had plunged him.
How stupid I was, not to have torn my heart out the day I swore to avenge myself.